Hey, and welcome to Morning Call for Thursday, the 25th of April, 2019. I'm Fab from Hamburg, from a very summerly Hamburg. The sun's been shining for ages, for days. It's gonna be 25 degrees today. It's just incredibly amazing weather. And with that, I'm looking to go out later. But before, let's get into some tech news for today. I've compiled everything that you need to know. So let's get right into it. First of all, news from Tesla once again. Their financials being a bit of a roller coaster ride after good profit last quarter. They now announced for the first quarter of 2019 that their bottom line took a big dent. They lost $702 million in the first quarter. That's $4.10 per share. Wall Street was projecting $1.81 of a loss, so well exceeded that. And their revenue of $4.45 billion is also short of expectations. They basically took 40% of a dent in their cash they had at hand, and this is both due to declining sales in their car production, but also a loss in their solar sales. They sell these solar things you can put on like their battery. You get a battery and you get solar panels, and then you could put that on your house and I guess charge your car from that, or do whatever you need to do with electricity. And they had losses there also. So there's also the problem that with the cars, there's the problem that they haven't been able to ship as much of the Model 3s over to Europe as they would like to. So they couldn't meet expectations. And also the fact that there were reductions in tax benefits in the US, and that makes it especially I guess a lot of people over there bought the expensive Teslas because of the big tax benefits, and still since you don't have them anymore, it's not like really that good of a deal for an expensive car, I guess. So they're having those problems. They also had, like, this is not in this story from the New York Times, but obviously the German tax office cut their the state subsidies you basically get, because for a while before the Model 3 came out, they didn't have a car that was cheap enough. They only had expensive cars, and you don't get the the subsidies for that, because the German government obviously trying to subsidize electric cars because of environmental concerns, and they really don't want to do that for rich people that can afford a car that's more than 100,000 euros, apparently. So yeah. Another story. This is great. Oh God, I have to look this up. Who submitted this? That was Jonathan. Jonathan in our Discord community, discord.sixgun.org. Great community. I can very much recommend it. This submitted the story. I was reporting on the Lime scooters and the problems they were having, and they're having different problems. Not that they're throwing off people who then break their legs. They're being hacked in Australia, and they're apparently they have a voice, like a voice thing. They can talk to you, and people have hacked that. And in true Australian fashions, I love me some Aussies. Aussie humor is great. They made the scooters say dirty things, like. Okay, if you're going to ride my ass, then please pull my hair, okay? Don't take me around because I don't like to be ridden. Stuff like that. So Lime isn't happy about this, and even more, I thought this was, as an IT security guy, I thought the statement was even more hilarious than the story. Because Lime in a statement said, "We are aware that 8 Lime scooters in Brisbane have had their audio files changed by vandals recording over the existing audio file with inappropriate and offensive speech." Nelson Savan, Lime's public affairs manager for the Australian state of Queensland, told the Brisbane Times, "It's not smart, it's not funny, and is akin to changing a ringtone," Savan said. Well, I think he's trying to play it down, this hack. Now, to change ringtone on somebody's mobile phone that you've hacked, I think you basically need to completely own their phone, right? So this would mean that to change this in a scooter, you would completely own that as well. So you could probably also apply the brakes. I'm guessing this was a gray hat or a white hat. A black hat would probably have put ransomware on the scooter, and then the scooter saying, "If you want to drive me, you need to send Bitcoin to the address 1x7p9215." Yeah, so I found that hilarious. True Aussie humor there. Also, the scooters. One of them also said, when customers ended a ride with the hack scooters, the voice box said, "No, where you go?" This is, I guess they just tacked it to say that, but when you're on the scooter, it will make me feel like they're actually live. They're tracking the scooter and they're doing these voice commands live. That would be even more scary. Now, there's lots of stories today that I'm just follow-up stories. This on stuff I've reported before. There's also Boeing has also reported their earnings for the quarter, I guess, and they were saying that they slashed their income goals for this year, and basically said they're not expecting to be meeting them because with the 737 MAX disaster, that is impacting their bottom line quite significantly, they're saying. So in the first quarter, their profit went down by 13%, down to $2.1 billion. And this is gonna get worse, because the 737 MAX is their cash cow, right? It's their best selling product. There's a great I've reported yesterday, I think, on the Dreamliner investigation that the Times was doing, and New York Times, and on their podcast yesterday on the Daily, they have a great podcast episode on this. If you're interested in this topic, you should listen to that, because they have one of the guys, they were mentioning in the story, they were mentioning this guy Swampy, who used to be a quality manager at Boeing before he quit and retired. And it sounded like he retired early because he couldn't stand what was going on there. And they have him on the podcast, and he's explaining things in his own words, which drives the story home even more. You can hear it's a podcast, a great medium for this, because you can hear the sincerity in his voice. If you have just a print story, and I guess it's it's the Times, it's a respected source, but you're not you might have some reservations about the story, but when you're hearing the guy talk about it, it's really good. Esky says Boeing's earnings took a nosedive. Too early, sorry. Yeah, why didn't I come up with that? That was just lying there, right? That's good. I like that. Better business news. Samsung is preparing to invest 104 billion euros in chip fabs. They're fabricating more and more chips. So I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't know this. In 2017, Samsung for the first time overtook Intel in revenue for chips. So they're the biggest chip manufacturer in the world. I always thought that was still Intel, but it's not. And of course they are, mostly doing. I mean, they're doing DRAM and flash chips. They're the biggest producer of those, but they're also producing CPUs for like Exynos. They're Exynos CPUs for smartphones, and they're also manufacturing circuits for other, like integrated circuit boards for other companies. I guess probably Apple. I don't know. And they're just investing big time into chip fabs, which I just thought was interesting. I hadn't. They weren't on my radar for this, but it makes makes completely sense. All the stuff they're selling. There's lots of processing, and even like on TVs and stuff these days. Bloomberg doing some further reporting on the Alexa story. We also talked about the teams at Amazon who are listening to voice recordings on Alexa to do quality improvements and stuff like that. And sorry, I need to. The downside with summer is I think my allergies are coming back now. I think the fucking grass has started blowing out seeds. So anyway, so this was a story about how these teams do quality control, and they listen to stuff and how they hear like really disturbing things. And Amazon had always made it kind of sound like this stuff was like not connected, like there was no real. I mean, there was personal identifying information to the customer, but that wasn't bad, and you couldn't really tell. Bloomberg now reporting that these teams apparently have access to the location data. So Alexa has location data because it wants to tailor the response if you ask it something to your specific location. And according to the stories, the people listening to the sound files get like the coordinates of where the Alexa is, and then they can just paste that in Google Maps, turn on the satellite view, and like see people's houses. And that's pretty bad. Now Amazon kind of backpedaling and saying, well, not many people have access to that, but like the people that Bloomberg was talking to, employees were saying, at least until that Bloomberg story broke, the first one, pretty much everybody had access to that. Although it's not quite clear if it was actually everybody, but they're saying lots of employees had, which wouldn't surprise me. And then in another privacy privacy debacle, I guess, stuff we're reporting on, Facebook just continues to be into hot water, and they have now put $3 billion from their profit aside for potential fines, which privacy fines, which is just baffling to everybody, including like privacy campaigners who had been basically saying we want $2 billion from Facebook. And register headline here: Facebook not saying we've done anything wrong, but we're just putting $3 billion in profit aside for an FTC privacy fine. So this is also part of their quarterly report. Pretty amazing, I think. So I don't know if that means if that's for the stuff we already know about, or if Facebook is like there's bound to be stuff coming out over the year or next year, and we better put a few more billions aside because it's gonna hurt. And we might as well tell our shareholders now, so they can kind of hunker down. Kind of amazing. Google has finished or the Google's mother company, the mothership, Alphabet Incorporated, has completed a 10,000 kilometer subsea cable linking California to Chile. It's called the Curie project. And the cable has now arrived in the Chilean port of Valparaiso. Isn't that a Mark Knopfler song? I think that's a great Mark Knopfler song. No, it's a Sting. It's a Sting song. It's a good song. And they have, it goes from Los Angeles through the Pacific Ocean to Valparaiso. I'm just looking here. Didn't I see a map? Why isn't there a map on the story? Let me see if I can find. Here we go. On submarine cable networks. Here we go. So there we have a map. So it goes from Los Angeles, pretty much follows down the coast along Mexico, and then kind of takes a bend. Is that Panama? And it's a bit more offshore, and then goes down all the way to Chile. Quite a massive cable. It says here, named after physicist and chemist Marie Curie, the Curie Cable system will make Google the first major non-telecom company. Well, Google is a telecom company these days, isn't it? To build a private intercontinental cable. Google claims it will be the first new cable to land in Chile in almost 20 years. It will become the largest single data pipe connecting the country. I guess they need to connect them better. I hope they're ready for like the submarines, the Russian submarines arriving and attaching spy stuff to the cable. In open source news, QEMU 4.0 is out. As the register says, with toys for ARM admirers, RISC V revolutionaries, Power Patriots. Get the idea. They're saying, first the bad news, x86 memory protection extensions MPX support has been dropped for all CPU modes. The QEMU team is blunt in its reasoning, declaring the tech a failed experiment by Intel. In the changelog, the gang has also dropped the PCO10 and PCO11 machine types, urging users to switch to something a bit newer instead. But they haven't only removed stuff, there's also new stuff, ARM v8 extensions. And if you're interested in the details, just go to the register and read that. I thought I'd just mention it. Interesting. QEMU, obviously, emulation, virtualization technology, hypervisor used in a lot of projects because of its open source nature. Microsoft also reporting quarterly earnings. It's earnings time. Earnings call. That's what morning call. It's earnings call. Microsoft, $8.8 billion of profit, and revenue of $30.6 billion. And that's up 14% from the same quarter last year. Pretty amazing for a quarter. They're still making a ton of money. It's mostly down to Azure and cloud. Office 365, 30% of revenue gain. And Dynamics 365, 43%. I don't even know what Dynamics 365 is. But the 365 makes me think it's cloud related also. And then before I leave, one last story, gaming story. Turns out Epic Games with their massive success of Fortnite is a bit was a bit obviously surprised by that success, and they're a bit trying, got caught a bit on the wrong foot there, and are trying to just keep up with the demand, because obviously they have this game now and they need to produce content and need to have big tournaments and stuff like that, and massive pressure internally in the studio. Polygon reporting. So they're saying in dozens of interviews conducted by Polygon over a period of several months, current and former employees say they regularly worked in excess of 70-hour weeks, with some reporting 100-hour weeks. Contract staff in Epic's quality assurance and customer service departments spoke of a stressful and hostile working environment in which overtime, while officially voluntary, was expected service to the company, and obviously they have lots of contractors which have not very good job protection, and even big pressure on them. And I mean, generally gaming industry not unionized, not well unionized, and lots of pressure on the employees. Interesting, Polygon making the point here that this is basically crunch, and which is known has been known in the video game industry for a long time, and but usually was connected to getting a game out, which meant there was crunch, but there was maybe crunch for half a year or a year. And now you basically, if you have something like this, you have crunch all the time, because you have gaming as a service. You have this free game that Epic put out, and then now they're making tons of money off the event passes and of all the cosmetics in the game, and it basically turned this company, which kind of hit on success they weren't expecting, into like a crunch 24/7, 365, crunch all the time company, which is pretty bad. At least they're saying the workers getting paid well for overtime, but that's not that's not everything. I mean, the people are reporting that they're getting sick from having to work these hours, and I can completely understand that as somebody who's recently just left his job voluntarily just because the money wasn't that important, and I was just like, I just wanted less stress. I can completely understand what they have been doing. Also, like, they're contractors and they have like 6 to 12 months contracts, and then they're getting a lot of pressure. It's pretty. It sounds like not a good situation. So I think Epic should sort that out. I mean, they hit on massive success. They're raking in the money with Fortnite. They should just hire more people, really, which is easier said than done. But generally, need to fix this. Fix it, Epic. I think they're maybe also a bit afraid that popularity might go away as fast as it came, which would then be a problem for their bottom line if they just hired massively more people. But anyway, that's it for today. I'm gonna go now. I'm trying to get outside a bit in the sun with such lovely weather. I'll see you tomorrow for one more morning call for this week. And then I'll be back next week. Until then, have a good day wherever you are. Hope your weather is as nice as mine's over here, and stay safe, especially if you're flying Boeing today. Until then, see you tomorrow.